Welcome into another edition of the Laodicean Lookout podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Sluder. We've got, he's becoming a bit of a staple now. This is like the Backwoods Bible Broadcast 2.0.
Well, we've actually got the table.
We've got the table, the original table.
The desk is gone.
Yeah.
I'm slowly assimilating this to the Backwoods Bible Broadcast.
Yeah.
Next week it'll say, "Love them to Jesus."
I don't have a desk here. I'm getting a desk custom made for my office, one that's more appropriate for my needs for the podcast and for my books and stuff. Just one that's going to be able to do better. But anyway,
it's going to be made out of pallet wood.
It might be. But we also have our two regular co-hosts. We got Jacob Salter. Jake, what are you playing over there?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
I was playing Call of Duty.
Oh my gosh,
but
Jake,
it stinks.
The other night we were getting ready to watch a movie because my wife stays with my grandmother 3 nights out of the week because she can't be left alone, and so Jake is over there. I'm like, "Hey, bro, let's watch this movie," and he's like, "Okay, hang on, I'm taming a T-Rex." I'm like, "What do you mean you're taming a T-Rex?" He goes, "Bro, I got this T-Rex." He's like, "You got to find these dinosaurs and knock them out."
Ark survival.
It's Ark survival.
Yeah.
And then this
Is that
morning,
an evolutionary worldview?
probably.
It might be.
Oh, yeah, get out of.
Well, this morning he's just about cussing because some Chinese dude, he said, had raided his base or fort or something and was holding him captive. He was like, and he killed all my dinosaurs. He's like, that T-Rex that I tamed, he killed it.
Well, the shame is those people on the other side of the world, they raid you at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like while you're not awake.
Yep.
In your sleep.
In your sleep. So he's like the enemy. He comes and sows the tares while we're asleep. Anyway, and then of course we got Johnny, him whose face we do not show.
The OGs should remember.
The OGs
should remember me.
The OGs should remember his face from the Backwoods Bible Broadcast.
But Johnny's different now.
Right.
Yeah.
Johnny's different.
He looks like a samurai.
He does. He's like a samurai.
Except right after he gets his hair cut, he's a Viking.
Yeah, when he gets his hair cut, he looks like a Viking. But we can't tell you what his hairdo is because we can't reveal what he looks like. Because you may see him in person, and we can't give any more identifying characteristics of him.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, if they saw your, what would he be considered, producer?
Yeah, whatever he wants to call himself.
Whatever. Okay.
I call him my tech guy.
I
Okay.
think you should call him like
Producer.
The Grand Poobah or something like that.
The Grand Poobah?
Yeah.
No, that's me, bro.
Or like Emperor.
Emperor Johnny.
Lord Johnny. No, yeah, John, that's a good name. I'm going to start calling you my producer.
Yeah.
My producer told me I couldn't do that, or you got to call my producer. Everybody that wants to challenge me to a debate, Johnny, I'm just going to be like, you got to call my producer, Mr. Caldwell, please.
Mr. Caldwell.
No. Yeah, Johnny's just going to tell them all no. Well, if you didn't notice, we don't have an introduction on the podcast today.
Why not?
Well, because no, this is actually a good little thing to talk about.
It is.
In Laodicea, we're always looking out for Laodiceans.
We're looking for people to punch.
We're always looking for people to punch. But this is not a punching moment. This is actually a good moment.
It's a hugging moment.
It's a hugging moment. Hug and fun. So anyway, John David Howe was on the intro calling me a heretic, and he has recently reached out and apologized, and I made a post about it on Facebook and fully accept the apology. It's all in the past, blah, blah, blah. And this will be the last time that I ever bring it up, even, because I'm one of those people, if you apologize, then it's over. We're good. So, but that's why we didn't have the introduction, because he was one of the ones on there. So now, my producer Johnny is now creating a new intro, but we're still going to have Steven Anderson on there.
I mean, I don't think there's any shortage of people calling you heretics.
I agree with this. There is no shortage.
I'm sure we could replace Brother Howe with maybe 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, 3 or 4. You're being generous. Probably much more than
I'll
that.
say this: we've been talking quite a bit, and I really enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah, we've not been talking a whole lot. I mean, no, not by choice or anything, just we just haven't been, but yeah, I mean, it's all cool now. Everything's good, and I'm good, he's good.
Yeah,
so
I like it when things work out that way.
Yeah, things work out just fine. So anyway, we will be editing the introduction to give you a brand new line. Well, not brand new, because we're still going to keep Steven Anderson.
Whoopsie.
That better be God calling. Steven Anderson, and what's the other guy we got on there? Edward PF or Edward Pfeiffer. Well, it's Edward like PF
Changs.
1 2 3 PF Changs.
PF 1 2 3 or something.
Yeah, it's Edward PF 1 2 3, and so we're still gonna keep him on there because I know.
He's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyway, blah blah blah. So that's why I don't have the introduction on there, and we'll be getting a new one. We're also going to be starting a new thing on this channel. Randy, you're not allowed to talk for the next 3 minutes. We're gonna start. I'm gonna start a thing. Oh, by the way, guys, these are really, really good. These are mango black tea aha, and they got 30 milligrams of caffeine in them, so you need to get one. But I'm gonna be starting a cooking show called.
Mama's little baby love shorter. You there with the pants?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
that's racist. They ought to cancel you.
That's a song.
I know it is. Well, it's racist though.
Oh, is it?
Mammy's little baby loves short and short.
Oh, I said mamas.
No, it's Mammy's.
Oh, well, you're a racist.
I changed it to mamas,
Yeah.
not memes. Anyway, but I'm gonna start a cooking show, and my producer Johnny has. We've determined it's gonna be called the Baptist Baker.
Okay.
Okay.
I liked how it was Corey Dennis. He commented on that post. He said, "Preacher, just keep throwing things up there till they stick. Magic tricks, balloon animals, whatever you got."
No, balloon animals belong to Caleb
Yeah, that's right.
because he did those in India, and I thought those little Indian children were gonna stroke. They were like, ah, balloons.
That's cool.
But Jake, you got to testify here for a second. My cooking's been pretty on point, hasn't
It
it?
was. The steaks were really good.
I've been cooking steaks, like I'm talking about like butter sauteed rosemary garlic steaks.
So here's what I thought you should do.
Okay, tell me.
Nix the cooking show, go with stunts.
No.
But okay, here's the
I'd
caveat.
have Jake do them.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you'll be dressed up with like a football helmet on, like you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But then you'll have Jake like roll down this hill out here in a shopping cart.
Act like Jake, but like just like fake, like act like it's me, but it's actually Jake. Be like,
your stunt
like,
double.
I'll be dressed in a football helmet, and now watch me roll down this hill, and it's
I'd
just
die.
like a Jake in a shopping
You'll
cart.
literally die.
Dude, you cross the busy road down there, like going to the river,
Hit the
float on
railroad
down.
tracks.
Yeah, I think, dude, you would get so many views.
Oh, you would for sure.
Yeah, but YouTube, okay, but YouTube doesn't like that kind of stuff.
They don't.
No.
Why?
If you if it's like endangering yourself or something, they'll really dock your, yeah.
Oh,
Huh?
a helmet.
Ad revenue. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a helmet. Why'd they dock me jumping off this cliff? I'm wearing a helmet.
And a helmet.
And a mask, yeah.
I'll double it.
We should just double mask.
Wear 2 helmets.
Yeah, there you go.
2 helmets. Oh man. So anyway, but I'm gonna be starting a cooking show on this channel, and we're already getting some stuff together about it. You just need to taste my cooking. You just
Oh, I
need to
have
taste-
tasted your cooking.
No, that Baja sauce was
Yeah.
history.
Oh, yeah, it was.
That's
Made me hate
forgiven,
my life.
forgotten, forever, amen.
Dude, I was like we're eating right out of a jar of mayonnaise. I walked
you
into
said-
the room, guys, and Caleb Hickle was like, I was putting it on. He's like, don't put too much of that on there. You'll be sorry. Now what?
Yeah, but the fish was good. The fish I cooked was good.
I mean, what are you gonna do with that?
Hey, that trout I cooked this past time was banging, wasn't it?
Colorado?
In Colorado?
Yeah.
I cooked some banging trout this past time in
Dude,
Colorado.
you just take it, cut it up,
No,
throw
tell
it in some seasoning, and throw it in a pan.
That's not what I did though, was it?
It's some with lemon.
You did some
Put
lemon,
in it.
put some lemon in it.
I
with-
put lemons in.
No, you remove the skin. I mean the whole 9 yards. It's good. It's good. But anyway, well, you can be one of my tasters
Okay.
because I know you're real critical. You can. You can be the Simon Cowell of my cooking show.
This is real bad.
This is horrendous. And then Johnny can be what's that big black dude's name? Randy? Is that his name? I think it's Randy.
Is it Randy Jackson?
Yeah, something like that. He's like,
That's a no for me, dog.
it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we don't know what that is. We don't know what American Idol is.
I do. American idolatry.
Yeah, it is. Praise God.
That gave us ammunition for years.
Yeah, it did. We got our youth meeting coming up too. That's going to be March 16th, 17th, and 18th. And as of this morning, you're now preaching at it,
Amen.
Brother Randy.
Amen. I'll bring life to this thing.
Yeah, I think.
You remember when we were? Okay, I can't say where, but
Okay.
remember we were going to this.
Now be
church.
careful, because I get in trouble for talking about churches on this thing.
Yeah. So nobody will know this one.
Okay.
So we're going.
Except for the pastor. That.
No, he won't even know.
Okay.
Because we were going to this church, because I ended up not preaching the message I was going to preach. And we pulled in, and you're like, what are you preaching on? I said, I think I'm preaching that message about sinners in the hands of an angry God. And that bus full of kids pulled
He
up.
literally was like, I'm thinking about, he was dead as our day. He's like, I'm thinking about preaching on sinners in the hands of an angry God. And like these like 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids, like a van full of them just pulled up. And then Caleb Higgins was like, church kids, thou art doomed. Yeah.
Amen.
Oh gosh, that was that was a funny time. But we got our youth meeting coming up March 16th, 17th, 18th. You will not want to miss it. We're going to have a really, really good time. So blah blah blah. Well, let's talk about some stuff, Brother Andy. Let's talk about some important stuff.
Okay, Reverend Sluder.
All right. Hey, I got this, and. This is taking fundamentalism by storm. I don't know if it really is. This is the modern English version. I've been hearing some buzzing about this.
Unless Brother Howells resurrects and endorses it, it's not.
well, they're not the true fundamentalists.
I have heard that.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're separatists.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally good with that.
Yeah.
Is the problem.
I am more than a separatist. I mean, what was it? Somebody said, I think it was Brother Grady they were up at Sal's church in Ohio, and he's like, y'all remember when they did that special on, independent fundamental Baptists, and they were shooting like First Baptist of Hammond and everything? He goes, and everybody was freaking out. He goes, imagine what would happen if they got a hold of Ruckmanites. Which we wouldn't have as much crime to worry about, just strange doctrine. Anyway, but this is the modern English version, and this is a TR Bible, and I'll give it to him. I mean, it's pretty TR. This is, I would say that this is somewhere between the King James and the New King James. This is, when I was reading, now this has got problems. Like, I automatically just found several places where it's got problems. And I was just flipping through it and found about 6 or 7 places.
I wanted to see if I could find a place.
Oh, okay, you can find a place. But basically, when I first started looking at it, though, I was kind of thinking, this may be what the New King James translators claim to be. You know what I'm saying when I say that?
I understand.
Like, just the New King James just removes the these and the thous. And at first glance, this seemed to kind of do that. Now, removing the these and the thous is important. I mean, that's not good, because, and Adam Johnson could explain this much thoroughly. Maybe you may be able to explain this a little bit better than me. But in Hebrew, especially, I think it is, you've got different, for example, help me out here, Brother Randy.
So
it's the these and the thous and the ye's and all that kind of stuff. It implies plurality, or if it's just talking to an individual. Explain that a little bit better.
I can't speak the Hebrew, but I can the Greek. I would assume it's probably similar in Hebrew. Greek, it's a lot like the way it works in Spanish.
Right.
And I'm talking Spain Spanish, because you have a second person plural.
Vosotros.
Yeah, the vosotros.
Mm-hmm.
And Greek is similar to that. You have a second person plural. Having the these, thous, yous, ye's, all that allows for a second person plural.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're speaking second person plural in Greek, then the receptor language allows you to maintain that second person plurality. Whereas your new translations, they're ridding it of second person plural because they're adapting it to modern English.
Yeah. So
it actually is not a good thing. There's one guy, he put a post on Facebook, and he wasn't a King James guy, but he said that he puts a dot over anytime the word you is used. If he goes to Greek, and it's supposed to be plural. He said he puts a dot so he knows that it's plurality, and I mean the King James Bible has literally already done that for you.
Yeah. So this is and what's interesting is these people are like real big on like the King James Bible, which is interesting. Is the back of it is a description, the most modern translation produced in the King James tradition within the last 30 years. This formal equivalence translation maintains the beauty of the past, yet provides fresh clarity for a new generation of Bible readers. They even have a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II in here. And I mean, talk about after the King James tradition right here. The print is really small on this, though. They need to work on that. To Her Majesty Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of her realms and territories, Queen, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith, the translators of the Bible, which grace, mercy, and peace through Jesus Christ our Lord. And then you got the Bible. So, for example, I found a few places here that are pretty noticeable. And really what this is when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, even though I do think it's better than a New King James, it really is just a repackaged New King James Bible. And for example, like Zechariah 13:6, let me see here. Zechariah 13:6 talks about like, I'm trying to find it here. The print is so small, you can like skip one page and it goes 5 chapters. But in the King James, it talks about receiving the wounds in thine hands. What are these wounds in thine hands? But like here, that's obviously a prophecy about the crucifixion of Christ. But in Zechariah 13:6, it says, if someone asks, what are these wounds on your arms? He will say, I was struck in the house of my close friends. Mm-hmm. So it destroys that there. You also got Psalms 22:16.
Well, you know that's the idea of the nails being driven in closer because of, I mean, they try and come up with a scientific reason.
Yeah.
But that's not needed.
Nope, not needed at all. Psalms 22:16, though, they do the same thing. Whoop, hang on. Good night. All right, Psalms 22:16. For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. Like a lion, they pin my hands and my feet. I mean, they're taking away like a lion. They pin my hands and my feet. But in the King James, it's they've pierced my feet and my hands. Talking about the nails there. So I mean, there's several places. Acts 12:4 takes Easter out, puts Passover. Acts 7:45 and Hebrews 4:8 removes the word Jesus and replaces it with Joshua. Romans 8:16 refers to the Holy Spirit as a himself instead of itself. And that's, we talked about that one with the ESV and everything. That's the proper translation of Romans 8:16 is itself. That is gender neutral there. Itself is the proper translation, okay? 1 Corinthians 6:9 takes out effeminate and abusers of themselves with mankind and puts male prostitutes and homosexuals. So you're just removing a lot of cross references there, blah blah, and that's just something I found just right off the top of my head, just flipping through it yesterday. But the thing is this is a sneaky one because all these guys who are not anybody that's TR is really not going to have much of a problem with this thing. Mm-hmm. So, and this has been circulating around. So beware of the modern English version. It is just a repackaged New King James, and it messes with the Word of God. It changes things. You cannot beat the King James Bible. So, anyway, well, let's move along to what you want to talk about.
What do I want to talk about?
Well,
legalism.
Yeah.
And how legalistic I am.
Yeah, let's talk about why you're legalistic.
Yeah, I think anybody who knows me knows that I live on the opposite end of that spectrum.
You probably need a little legalism.
Yeah. So I did have a thought recently about legalism, and the reason I did is because all of these guys who are bashing the IFB crowd. Now, I don't identify with a lot of their standards.
I don't even identify as IFB.
Right. And I promise you, had I been alive with the same standards and convictions I have now, had I been alive when the fundamentals were written, I would have had no part in it.
Yeah.
I just would had no interest in what they were doing. But they will bash the IFB and then speak about the reformers like they're heroes of the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you've got an IFB guy who, harps on the way women dress or going to the movies, and which, like I say, anybody who knows me, that's not really big issues for me. But when you deal with the reformers, man, they were just as much that direction, if not more so.
Oh, 10 times. I mean, here's the thing. And I've got The Other Side of Calvinism by Lawrence Vance, okay? This is a phenomenal book. It really is just unbelievably good. And, of course, all the Calvinists are going to be out there being, oh, yeah, Vance's little hit piece, Do you remember that?
Yeah.
There was a missionary down in Chile. His name is, well, we won't give his name. But anyway, I was asking him about the Spanish Bible, and he said, I've mentioned a few pieces a few points of an article from Brother Manny Rodriguez, who's a phenomenal guy, very smart. Mm-hmm. He said, oh, yeah, Manny's little hit piece. Yeah. Somebody the other day, this is kind of funny. Let me sidetrack here and kill this rabbit.
Okay.
Somebody the other day was, talking about how that I wasn't qualified to talk about the Spanish Bible issue because I didn't speak Spanish that well. And I mean, I feel like that's a little bit...
you don't speak English that well.
Yeah, I don't speak English that well. But I feel like that's a little bit of a false accusation. I mean, I can think and preach when I go down there. Mm-hmm. I've got to have an interpreter with me there just in case things get a little hairy. But I have preached 3/4 of a message in Spanish down there. And so I think it's a little bit of a false accusation that I can't speak well enough to comment. But even it's that, I told the guy, I said, well, I probably speak Spanish a lot better than you speak Greek.
Out of his face.
Out of his face and everybody's face out there. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Legalism
of the reformers.
So this is a really good book. Regardless if you like Vance, even if you're a Calvinist, you can't deny the historical quotes he's got in here. I mean, the whole thing, the documentation for this book is, the bibliography is, let's see here. Whoa. Let's see. Hold on.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this right here alone.
That was almost as many books as you read before you wrote Divorced But Not Demoted.
That I read?
I'm just joking.
Oh,
I know you didn't read any books.
No, I got a lot of quotes in there. I read some books. I read a lot of commentaries, I should say.
Okay.
This right here is just, it goes from 653 to 772. Okay, over 100 pages worth of bibliography and documentation for his quotes.
That's impressive.
It really is impressive. And so when you talk about the reformers, these guys hail the reformers. I don't like the reformers, okay? I like Baptists, and there have been Baptists all the way back to the Apostle Paul. Well, I really do believe that.
I do say it like this. There are things I appreciate about the reformers, but I'm not going to have communion with them.
Right. They've got some guts. No doubt, or had some guts.
And I do like that.
And I think, and I'll say this, I even think there's some of them that weren't even saved that had some guts.
Sure.
Like, I personally don't think John Calvin was saved. If you want to argue about that, then all we have to do is just go off his writings. If you want to talk about what the man believed about salvation, I've got the Institutes. I've read many chapters in the Institutes. We can talk about it.
Well, I know we're talking about legalism right now, but if we are talking doctrine, people have problems with your and my interpretation of James chapter 2 being dispensationally applied to Jews in the tribulation. But Martin Luther wanted to chop the whole thing out.
Yeah, Martin Luther said one day he's going to light his stove with the book of James. I think
he called it Jimmy. He used the diminutive.
Oh my goodness! Oh, whoa! The diminutive.
Yeah. Little Jimmy's
little Jimmy's book. Little Jimmy's little hit piece.
He wanted to throw it out of his school, and he said that it was probably because some Jew came along. He hated Jews.
He hated Jews.
He said some Jew came along and heard that we were all about grace as Christians, so he wrote a book filled with works.
Yeah.
He kept it in his translation. I'll give him that, but he said we should throw it out of the school, and that he wanted to light his fire with it.
Yeah, and the thing is like, we just believe that it applies to tribulation saints.
Yeah.
We don't think it should be left out of the Bible.
And we believe that you can get great application from it.
I just taught through the book of James a couple of months ago in Sunday school, verse by verse. I mean, we got some good practical application out of it. Yeah, so to act like the modern day IFB movement is just like the worst thing ever, you guys would poop yourselves if you were around the reformers. They were they were doctrinally wrong about a lot of stuff. So all that to say this, I do think that John Calvin, I don't think he was saved. I have a hard time believing Martin Luther was saved just by the stuff that they wrote about baptism and the Lord's Supper and all that kind of stuff. It was so kin to the Catholic Church. Now I understand they're coming out of a dark time. They're coming out of a horrible religious system, and regardless if they were saved or not, they had intestinal fortitude to stand up against the Roman Catholic Church. I'll give them that all day long.
I won't say they're not saved, because the Lord knows what you're His, so He'll sort that out.
Well, I agree with that.
But there were Baptists at the time who had beliefs on baptism like we do today.
Sure.
So to try and argue that they were just, and that is a common argument, that they were just coming out of that, they didn't really know, they were trying to formulate these things. No, there were people in existence who believed on topics like we do today as Baptists,
and they knew what those Anabaptists, I mean,
and
John
they would
Calvin,
persecute them for it,
and they would kill them.
yeah
It wasn't like that Martin Luther had never heard or John Calvin had never heard. You mean what? There are people that believe that baptism is only for believers and that you get baptized after you get saved and it has nothing to do with your salvation? It's not like he heard that and was like, oh my gosh. No, he knew about it and still rejected it. Same thing with John Calvin. And they killed these people. Okay, that's what you got to understand. And that's what we're going to kind of dive into today. You talk about legalism. Well, they won't even let a woman in a church if she's wearing a pair of pants. Now, first of all, I have never. Have you ever been in a church where they escorted a woman out because she's wearing a pair of pants?
No, I have not. Now, I have heard of one church that did it, and I do believe it, and they weren't really IFB fringe.
Oh.
It was like the Milby crowd.
Oh, okay.
And you can see that.
I could see that with them.
Because they think Ruckmanites are crazy.
Yeah. These people are
off the rails.
You have no idea how fringe these guys are. But I have never been in a church. I have never known of a pastor that would escort. So, people say, well, they look at you funny if you wear a pair of pants to church there. Okay, well, the reformers literally killed you if you didn't agree with them. Mm-hmm. We're talking about legalism here.
And not just doctrinally. I mean, they may have not killed you for this, but you could have been arrested over things like hairstyles.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got some stuff here. Let's just dive into it. So when Calvin went to Geneva and became the bishop there, he was known, like this is historical fact, he was known as the Pope of Protestantism. Mm-hmm. And this is what one person said. Schaff wrote, that church history, volumes on church history, says it was a glaring inconsistency that those who had just shaken off the yoke of popery as an intolerable burden should subject their conscience and intellect to a human creed. In other words, substitute for the old Roman popery a modern Protestant popery. That's what was said about Geneva, mm-hmm. where John Calvin was.
Well, and to be fair to John Calvin, from the writings I've read, it does seem like him gaining absolute power in Geneva was the source of a lot of his corruption.
Yeah.
Like, before that, he wasn't as bad. He goes to Geneva, and he just goes crazy.
I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth. That's what they say. This is interesting. Hang on. Here. A hairdresser. Now, this is. Let me start up here a little bit further up. Consequently, a quote set of severe regulations were introduced even before Calvin arrived in the city. There were laws governing dress, music, games, church attendance, dancing, blasphemy, and oaths. Education became free but compulsory. One citizen who refused to attend sermons was imprisoned, forced to go hear sermons, and finally banished from the city. Naturally, there were many residents of Geneva who rebelled against the strict system of discipline. It was into this unstable environment that Calvin entered in 1536. But rather than separating the church from the state, Calvin used the power of the state to enforce his system of discipline. A hairdresser was imprisoned for 2 days for arranging a bride's hair in an unseemly manner.
That hairstyle is unseemly.
What a great hero of the faith. All these modern day IFB won't let their women dye their hair pink. Okay, well, this hairdresser, did her hair a little different than what Calvin liked. Unseemly is what he said, and she was put in jail for 2 days.
Yeah, and I'm not defending the IFB going overboard. No. I'm just saying that there's a huge lack of consistency that takes place when you throw off on somebody for legalism and then you praise the reformers for all the great things they were and completely overlook everything that they did wrong.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And I say that with definitely more appreciation for the reformers than you had, even though I do have tons of disagreements with them.
Yeah. It's not hard to have more appreciation for the reformers.
No, I'm aware.
Brother Darren, who is a great guy, teaches at our Bible college, he appreciates the reformers more than I do. And I told him a couple of weeks ago, I said, boy, I'm telling you, Brother Darren, I hope God thinks better of those reformers than I did, or than I do. And he might, but
I would say probably.
He might dislike them worse than I do. Who knows? We'll find out.
I might say possibly.
Yeah. But here's what I'll say. Every person has inconsistencies, okay? We turn a blind eye to things. Everybody does. Everybody, if you love somebody or if somebody's really helped you, you will overlook their inconsistencies more so than others. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
Dr. Ruttman used to say that we can never do Satan's bidding more than when we point to the inconsistencies of other Christians. And I agree with that, okay? To an extent, because this is a huge glaring inconsistency. Mm-hmm. Like if we're talking about, their school doesn't, their church makes their Sunday school teachers wear skirts and makes the men wear ties. Okay, I'm not putting anybody in jail over it though. Mm-hmm. Okay, two Anabaptists were banished from the city on account of their theological views. If we want to talk about, the real fundamentalists, there were only 5 core things. John Calvin had a man killed because of his wording on the Trinity, Servetus. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these modern day Calvinists, I don't know really how much he was involved in that. No. It's documented in this book. He had a great deal to do with it. John Calvin told about Servetus, he says, if he should come to Geneva, I will never bid him to leave alive. He didn't have nothing to do with it. Say something there, Brother Randy.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying right now.
Okay.
And it's just a shame that guys will overlook these things just because it's their pet doctrines.
Right.
And you can support something and yet point out the problems.
Yeah.
One of the issues that 2020 revealed to us is that it's really hard for adults in America to have 2 thoughts in tension anymore. We can't have 2 adult thoughts in our mind that show us, like with President Trump.
For a split second, I thought that I didn't mash the record button.
Oh, that would have been a disaster.
That would have been a disaster. Anyway, carry on.
But good, Jay.
If it wasn't for anybody else, preacher, it was for me.
Well, I'm glad you were under the spout where the glory comes out. But like with President Trump, you had guys who are on the right that they couldn't see him doing any wrong.
Yeah.
And then you have guys on the left, they couldn't see him doing any right when, obviously as a person he did good and bad. Mm-hmm. But, sure. If we pointed that out, which I did one night, specifically because of his handling with Israel, I had several guys who were a little upset about that.
Well, you shouldn't touch God's anointed, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
No, I agree with all this. Penalties were assessed for making a noise or laughing during church. A gambler was publicly punished. I mean, I don't know what else you want from me. I mean, his salary for preaching was not paid out of the church collection, but was from the city treasury.
Well, and if you are Baptistic, okay, you don't even have to have it on your sign, but if you're Baptistic, you should be against state churches and church states. That's something Baptists have held even before we had the name Baptist.
Yeah. Vance writes this, and I don't want to read too much. I don't want to get in trouble for copyright laws, even though I don't think he'd do anything. He's a good guy. But the rules and regulations introduced in Geneva during Calvin's ministry left no area of life untouched. This is why Calvin has frequently been labeled the Genevese dictator, who would tolerate in Geneva the opinions of only one person, his own. Besides the usual laws against dancing, fornication, dancing, profanity, gambling, and immodesty, the number of dishes eaten at a meal was also regulated. We could go on and on with it.
That's why there were no Baptists there.
Yeah. Calvin was in favor of the death penalty when it came to fornicators and adulterers. He very much defended the killing of Servetus. I mean, he even wrote a book about it, and it was called Defense of the Orthodox Trinity Against the Errors of Michael Servetus. And in that book, he wrote this, quote, "Whoever shall now contend that it is unjust to put heretics and blasphemers to death will knowingly and willingly incur their very guilt." So, I mean, it's just, and I'll leave it off there. Hopefully the point's been made. These reformers were way worse than any modern day separatist Baptist ever thought about being.
Yeah, and again, I'm not encouraging any form of what is being considered legalism, but this also may cause you to take a step back and question, is what is happening right? Not necessarily no, but is it legalism?
No.
Because I think that legalism has probably received a new definition within the last 100 or so years.
Right. I would agree with that. The glass guys here, they're supposed to be here at 11:30. These guys, anyway, they're bad. Reschedule, didn't call me till they missed their appointment on Monday, or what is today? Friday. On Wednesday, rescheduled it for Thursday, no-showed me yesterday, and now they're 25 minutes early when I told them they had to be here at 11:30 because I wasn't going to be available till then. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Now he can't park his truck.
We got an entire parking lot up there if he wants to pull in right here. Anyway, yeah, it's just ridiculous. It really is. The legalism.
I'm glad we could blast him up to let us see a lookout.
Hey, Jake, go out there to this man and show him. We need that window replaced up here.
Which one?
Just pull up the blind. We need the glass door there in the sanctuary replaced, and we need the glass window. There's a window on this side that needs to be replaced. We'll just lift the blinds up and you'll see it, okay? All right, I'll be up there in just a second.
And punch him.
And tell him John Calvin said hello.
Yeah, and save me a little one.
Yeah. So anyway, man, that infuriates me. I'm infuriated right now. But legalism is not having unbiblical rules and standards on somebody. I don't care. Listen, I know that people are trying to redefine, well, legalism really is the... No, legalism is adding works to salvation. It is for 2,000 years of church history. That's what legalism has been. Are there unbiblical standards put out by the IFB and people of the like? Yes, but call them what they are: unbiblical standards. Okay, it's not legalism though, and I'm not defending these unbiblical standards or these unbiblical strenuous demands put out. But I'm also not going to redefine the terms just to fit the narrative of somebody else. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk about legalism, if you want to say that's legalism, then let's talk about some legalism. Let's talk about the reformers. Let's talk about some real legalism, where John Calvin teaching about the Lord's Supper and water baptism as necessary means of salvation and receiving grace. Let's talk about those things. That's real legalism. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't fit the narrative. Therefore, it doesn't come. And that's what it is. They want to talk about about and I'm not talking about just, these recovering fundamentalists, whatever. I'm talking about anybody that wants to start throwing stones. The inconsistencies of what you hail as the reformers and the great heroes of the faith and John Calvin, he's such a brilliant scholar and all this kind of stuff. And then you want to look at guys like us. We are not the IFB. I don't know what more we have to do to distance ourselves from that. I'm not changing my King James Bible. I'm not getting rid of my hymn book. I'm not going to start dressing like the world. I'm not going to bring in, a rock and roll concert. Those are things I'm not doing, okay? I'm going to wear a suit when I preach. If that brands me as a legalist IFB, whatever, say what you want to. But the dynamic difference between us and the recovering fundamentalists and the IFB, or the ISB as they're now calling it, is the fact that we can actually look at both sides of the issue and say, yeah, you're both wrong. Mm-hmm. We're right. I mean, and this is what it is. A true Bible believer always finds himself somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been careful on the whole idea of IFB.
Be careful for nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up IFB.
I did. Well, I kind of did.
Yeah, I grew up in the IFB, influenced by the IFB.
You grew up super IFB.
Yeah.
These guys have no idea.
I do kind of agree with that.
Y'all have no idea. My wife, same way. They were raised in the same church.
Well, but we didn't realize it.
No.
I mean, I didn't feel beat down or oppressed.
No, and y'all didn't have bad. I mean, y'all didn't have bad experiences, traumatizing, life-changing experiences.
I mean, there was no scandals and cover-ups. So we didn't experience anything like that.
It was just crazy strict standards.
Yeah, we were pretty strict. Growing up, I remember raising my hand in a service that I wasn't going to go to movie theaters, and that wasn't at our home church, but it was at a church we were visiting, and stuff like that. And it's different now. But
it's different now.
I was thinking the same thing. But so I've always been kind of slow to give up that title IFB. But if somebody's gonna brand me, I am a Baptist and I'm a Bible believer.
Yeah.
And had I been around during the time of the writing of the fundamentals, I wouldn't have even been involved in that.
Yeah.
So one more thing, though, on thoughts of inconsistency and false equivalence. I did hear, since you mentioned recovering fundamentalists, I wasn't going to say it, but since you did. Okay.
I'm shocked that you didn't mention it by now.
Yeah.
I didn't want to mention it, preacher, but since you brought it up.
Well, I listened to it. I listened to it because I like to know what's going on in the world.
Right.
I've had people tell me I shouldn't because, that's giving them another click. Yeah. And I said, well, y'all wouldn't know what was going on.
Huh?
It was that broken window up there.
It's the broken door and the window. Both.
Door. You're talking about the door where you walk into the sanctuary?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the window.
Yeah, I showed them both.
Both. Okay, good.
Good job, Jake.
Good job.
But where was I before Jake interrupted me?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't even know.
What we were talking about Bible believers, IFB, false equivalence. I brought up recovering fundamentalists. I heard him say the other day that the IFB, this is so good, is like the Salem witch trials.
What was you said? Ministry assassination?
Yeah, they were it was the live one in Las Vegas, and Brian Edward just goes, "How many of you have had ministry assassination from the IFB?"
If they want to talk about ministry assassination, we just need to sit down and tell them some of our stories.
Yeah, mine's been drawn and quartered, hung.
I mean, yeah.
But here's the thing. Okay, yeah, I see the parallel he's trying to create, but nobody is being persecuted to the extremes of the Salem witch trials.
No.
Nobody. Just because. And my wife, she's a nurse. She wears scrubs. So the whole pants thing, I'm not even involved in that. But for a person who says that you should wear pants and a lady gets her feelings hurt and leaves.
I mean, you shouldn't wear pants.
Okay.
What did you say?
No, like, if a preacher is preaching and says, you shouldn't wear pants.
Oh, yeah, you said if a preacher preached and said you should wear pants.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, says that, and the lady gets her feelings hurt, leaves, whatever. That's not the equivalent of taking that lady in the parking lot
and setting her on fire.
Setting her on fire. Or taking her down to the river and drowning her.
Yeah, no. And
that's called false equivalence.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like comparing like modern day Republicans to the Nazi regime.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to be like insensitive. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I am insensitive. Okay. It is, but get over it. Like, move on with your life.
Well, I mean,
and I'm not.
Yeah,
and
that's a big deal. Just go somewhere else.
Yeah, and listen, and I am not talking about like if you were sexually or physically abused.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about that. Like, that's a huge deal. That is very scarring. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you got mad because you stopped using the King James Bible, and then people were like, well, yeah, I'm not going to have you in anymore, and you're not welcome here anymore because you're not King James only anymore. They're persecuting us. Like, no, you know what's going to happen.
Well,
we've had guys that have literally tried. I had a dude literally tried to get me removed from this church building, like tried to get our church thrown out of this church building because I let divorced guys preach for me. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah, I hate those divorced guys you have preach for you.
Yeah, well, there's one I really hate.
Yeah. Well, I had the unfortunate experience of a divorce, and in these mountains, if you're divorced for any cause,
you'd be better off going gay.
Well, you could get forgiveness.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, once you're divorced, you're done.
Yeah.
But they had issues with it, and they don't preach me. A lot of guys who used to preach me, mm-hmm. They're not rude to me. They don't talk badly about me.
To your face.
To my face, and as far as I know, behind my back, they don't either. And they don't preach me anymore. But I don't care. I preach for the guys who do preach me.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows my story, I think if anybody has an excuse, I probably do.
Yeah.
But I think that might be the reason they give me some grace as far as not beating me up over it. But having said that, I don't cry about it. It's just I'm gonna find the places that will have me.
Yeah.
So if you're upset, just move on.
It's okay. Get over it.
It's okay.
It's all right. In the words of Brother Peacock, suck it up, Buttercup. Mm-hmm. People are gonna hate you. Jesus told you this would happen. If you're such a follower of Jesus, and all these guys are hating on you, it's okay. Just chill out. Jesus told you that. Mm-hmm. It's funny because they'll look at the IFB and say, "Yeah, they're persecuting me," and then we'll look at them and or not us specifically, about the IFB. We'll look at them like they're putting clips of them preaching on Twitter. They're persecuting us, like they're both who's the persecutor and who's the persecuted in this situation. And then we're just back here eating popcorn, being like, "We hate you all."
Well, when they had that bastion of theological intellect, Mark Lowry, on. Whom they had to defend.
Hey, he's not a theologian.
He's a comedian. We just let this comedian give us an hour of theology. But he said in there, he said, the lost world doesn't have a problem with Jesus. They have a problem with his crazy followers. And it was something along those lines. That's not what the Bible says.
If they hate you, know that they hated me first. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the children of God. Therefore the world knoweth him not, us not, because it knew him not.
I mean, that was the worst hour of comedy I've ever heard.
I've never heard so much heresy in a comedy pit in all my life. Oh man, we're meddling at this point, preacher.
I got a joke for you.
Okay.
The Bible's not the Word of God.
That's almost as good as John R. Rice saying that Adam was in the body of Christ.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Mark Lowry came out and said he didn't mean it like that.
I'm sure he did. I bet even old Bill Gaither was like, "Whoa, Mark. I don't know if I'm going to have you back on the homecomings anymore." Mark Lowry said one time that Bill Gaither would video any event and call it a homecoming video. He was like, I mean, when the Lord comes back, it's going to be Homecoming Rapture Edition.
Buy it now, Tribulation Special.
Yeah. He is a funny man, though. I will give. He's a funny man, but
Just not when he talks about
just
theology.
not when he's talking about the Bible, because then it gets real unfunny quick. All right, well,
At least the Bible believers.
yeah. Well, at least the people that know their Bible. Well, this has gone off the rails, but that's okay. Well, listen,
I'm
folks.
glad I was here, preacher.
Yeah. Everybody enjoy this when Brother Eddie won't be back on for a long time.
You know,
I've been trying to behave on social media.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
And people are beginning to see the narrative that's true. Whenever I'm around him is when I can't behave on social media.
I like it.
Yeah.
I wish I could. What was I thinking? Is about those recovering fundies. Shucks. I'll probably just have to save it for another
The
time.
Lord took it from you, preacher. Lord, give me the words I need to say and take those I don't.
Oh, boy.
We need to do an entire podcast where we just talk about crazy stories in these mountains.
Yeah. Boy, if we ever turned into recovering fundamentalists,
We'd have some stories to tell.
those guys think they got stories.
Well, folks, it's been good. It's been good to be in the Lord's house today.
I can leave right now.
I can leave right now and say it's been good to be in God's house. It's been good to be
This is his basement.
Yeah, this is the basement, the bog, the basement of God.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for watching the Laodicean Lookout podcast. We are in Laodicea, so you need to be on the lookout. Until next time, God bless you is my prayer.